Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1, or should I say Stop and Go F2, on the weekend that the Formula One Championship could be decided. We have a brand new Formula 2 champion. Get into all that and more in just a little bit. Before we do, though, remember to like and subscribe. And, of course, a huge shout-out to our lovely members. Dakota, the Joyous Jane from my Sinistral, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Philip Deganzik, Sarah Jowett, Andy Jones, Facetious Badger, and our newest member, of course, the Baked Toast. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description down below, either on YouTube or on the Patreon. But it's now time to get into Formula 2, starting with the sprint yesterday. There are a couple of Formula 2 debutants on the grid this weekend, including one Nicholas Solov, who finished second in the Formula 3 Championship earlier this year. Also, James Wharton is making his debut this weekend, which is a bit of an odd one. Hasn't had the greatest Formula 3 career to date. Finished 18th in the Formula 3 Championship this year. Has been confirmed for Formula 3 next year. So unlike Solov, will not be making the step up to Formula 2 next year. We'll be going back to Formula 3, but there was a gap available, and he's taken it. So congratulations to him. The sprint itself, Richard Verschoor is on pole with Joshua Dirksen alongside him. As the race gets started, Dirksen does take the lead as Verschoor falls to second, and Solov jumps from fourth to third. Very good start from Solov. Van Hoopen was pushed off the track and falls down to 20th, and Verschoor puts pressure all over Dirksen on lap 3, and then will take the lead on lap 4. Not too much going on in the sprint here, and I started to get rather negative feelings about the track in general. I'm not a huge fan of this track. Of course, it was designed for MotoGP, not for Formula 1 or Formula 2 or whatever it might be, so it's not exactly designed for cars. And what I've really found from watching everything this weekend is it's very, very difficult to overtake. The only real place you can get past anyone is turn 1, or maybe set up a move into turn 2 or 3. Even with that, the DRS zone, is not long enough to really allow you to get alongside. And really what a lot of the racing we've seen so far this weekend has been is wait for the person in front of you to make a mistake and go into the gravel trap, and then they will lose 5 places and you will gain 1. And that is really what a lot of the racing has been, which, isn't great. Wharton's out, by the way. He's off in the gravel at turn 1. We see a replay. It's him and Van Hoopen, who are teammates this weekend. Van Hoopen has a lot of oversteer, pushed his teammate out, and he's just gone from there. This brings out the safety car. Stanek pits, Lindblad pits, Gerfer's pitted, Mining's pitted, Bennett's pitted, out it's Browning and Shields. Stanek pitting there really was to just get him out of the way of Leo Fornaroli. His Invicta teammate was right behind him. He wasn't going to let him through because team orders just don't work in Formula 2. And, Invicta know that Fornaroli could win the title this weekend. Get the teammate out of the way. Fornaroli can hopefully score some good points. Behind the safety car, Kush Miney is out. We see a replay of the pit crew panicking as he's released, so the tyre is probably not connected correctly on there. Safety car ends on lap 17 or 23. Verschoor goes super early, and Dirksen reads it really well and is not too far behind him. But a lap later, Verschoor just has supreme pace and has broken DRS. There's another safety car, lap 20 or 23, because Kian Shields had a big spin. The safety car ends on the final lap to give us a one-lap shootout to the end, and this is when Nicholas Solov's very good debut goes all to hell. He was in P3 at this point. Villa Gomez comes alongside him off the restart. Solov pushes him off the track. Villa Gomez comes back on the track and pushes Solov even more off the track, to the point that Solov falls from 3rd to 10th on the final lap of the race. Martins pushes Lindblad out and he falls from 11th to 17th. As we cross the line, Richard Verschoor wins the race. It's his 8th F2 win, which is equaling the record for Formula 2. It's a bit of a weird record, really, because it's kind of the record you don't really want, because unless you've done it in your debut year, it means that you've probably been in Formula 2 a little bit too long, and that is the case with Richard Verschoor. Dirksen was P2, Villagomez P3, Montoya had a good result in 4th, then it was Dunn 5th, Fornaroli in 6th, Stenshorn was 7th, and Crawford picking up the last point in 8th. Nicholas Solov did fall to P10. I did not see any penalties given out for that at the end. I think really maybe the steward just saw it as 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because Solov pushed off Villagomez pushed off Solov. Solov had the worst of the two of it, but a decent debut race for Nicholas Solov. And there's a lot of discussion at the minute about the Red Bull Junior team and the Racing Bulls and Red Bull and whoever it might be. Solov, of course, is a Red Bull Junior, and there is discussion at the minute of Arvid Lindblad jumping from Formula 2 to Formula 1 for next year. And, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you will know I'm a big fan of Arvid Lindblad, and I've been a fan of him since I first saw him back in Formula 3. But I have to say, at this point in time, I don't think he's ready for Formula 1 just yet. And I could be massively wrong on that, because how many times have we seen someone really do nothing in Formula 2, get a Formula 1 opportunity, and then they just smash it? When Colapinto first got called up to that Williams team, I thought they'd made quite a mistake, because Colapinto was doing nothing in Formula 2. You put him in Formula 1, and then all of a sudden he was out qualifying Alex Albon. So, it could go the other way, but I feel like Lindblad's performances lately in Formula 2 have not been too good, including this weekend, which was not too good. And you see someone like a Solov, who has just come from Formula 3 to Formula 2, in the exact same car as Lindblad, also a Red Bull Junior, entirely outperformed him this weekend. And now I'm not calling for Solov to be called into F1 next year, because that is also far too early. But, when we're looking at the people in contention for Red Bull seats next year, I don't see the harm in making Lindblad have another year in Formula 2, iron out any issues that he might have and go from there. Because I think the 4 guys that Red Bull have in Formula 1 right now are very good. Verstappen speaks for himself. Hajar has had a very good rookie season with the Racing Bulls team. I think Liam Lawson has shown at times he's been very good and was impressive enough to get the Red Bull seat at the start of the year, and then has had his confidence destroyed and then slowly built it back up to a point where he is now, where he's not performing every weekend, but he is delivering some decent results here and again, and would hopefully be able to continue that into next year. And Yuki Tsunoda is Yuki Tsunoda. We saw as well from him when he was in the Racing Bulls team that he delivered some good results as well. So I feel like the 4 that they have in F1 right now are very strong, and with the brand new cars coming in next year, I see no issue. And if I was in charge of Red Bull, I've said this before, I'd keep the teams exactly as they are. I'd keep it Verstappen and Tsunoda, I'd keep it Hajar and Lawson, see how it works out next year with a brand new car, then move from there, give Lindblad another year in Formula 2. But that's discussing a bit too much about Formula 1 in this Formula 2 video. We move now to the feature race where Colapinto, my goodness, Leonardo Fornaroli could become world champion of Formula 2, and realistically it was laid out on a plate for him after qualifying, because he is the world championship leader. He did qualify on pole position. Well, Ollie Gerfer qualified on pole position, then got a penalty for impeding, so he was pushed down to 4th, giving Fornaroli pole position for the race. Victor Martins was alongside him, and of those who could have challenged him for the title this weekend, they all had pretty bad qualifyings. Crawford is 2nd in the championship, he qualified 15th. Verschoor is 3rd in the championship, he qualified 10th. Browning is 4th in the championship, he qualified 18th. Dunn is 5th in the championship, but by quite some distance, he qualified in 5th. So Dunn was the closest on the grid, but the furthest away in terms of the championship. Also worth noting for Dunn, this is his first Formula 2 race weekend since he's left the McLaren team. As the race begins, Martins just storms into the lead. The commentary was saying that it wasn't a great start from Fornaroli. I would disagree. I thought it was an okay start from Fornaroli. I think it was just a great start from Martins. If you look at the replay from the helicopter shot, if you compare Fornaroli to the likes of Stanek or to Dunn or whoever was around him there, they all have relatively the same start. It's just because Martins was so good, it made Fornaroli's look bad. But yeah, Martins does take the lead from here. The big gainer on the first lap was Lindblad, who gained 3 places to jump up to 14th place after a bad qualifying from him. Fornaroli on lap 3 is already saying that his front left tyre was falling away, which is a bit of a concern. Martins, though, just had supreme pace, was 2.7 seconds down the road at this point after only 3 laps. Dirksen was out wide the last corner, which allows Villagomez to pass him for P8. Dirksen hyper-aggressive trying to get that place back, but was not able to take it. Dunn goes around the outside of Stanek for P3 on lap 5. Fornaroli and Dunn pit on lap 6, which of course is the first lap that you can pit on. Montoya, Verschoor, Dirksen and Miata all pit as well. Stanek makes a mistake on the penultimate corner, which allows Gerfer to close in and take P2 on lap 7. Then on lap 7, Victor Martins pits from the lead, as does Gerfer, Stanek, Villagomez, Stenshaw, Crawford and Mini. Martins actually has a slow pit stop, but was still able to come out ahead of Fornaroli by 3 seconds, which just shows the pace that Martins had at that point. Miata breaks down in pit lane entry, but thankfully this does not affect anything in terms of the race. Fornaroli at this point does have good pace, cuts Martins' lead down to just over a second, but then over the next few laps, Martins is able to build that up again. Browning passes Bennett down the inside of turn 1 for P3 on lap 14. Then Gerfer, his awful weekend just gets worse, denied pole position due to a penalty, and now was going very slow and stops on track on lap 15. This brings out the safety car. Awful timing for the safety car if you're on the alternative strategy, because it was just a little bit too early. Now, Dino Boganovic was leading at this point, hadn't pit, was on the alternative strategy, and it was too early for him. And he was leading by quite some bit at this point, and he just destroyed that lead he had. Lindblad was in P2, and they just took the risk and pit anyway. And this brought Lindblad out in P7, but it would be net P3. He was just behind Martins and Fornaroli, but he did have a long way to go on the softer compound tyres. We have a couple penalties here for Dunn and Solov, both 5 seconds, both for unsafe releases. Then when the safety car ends, it is semi-good news for Boganovic, because it wasn't the longest safety car period we've ever seen. It meant that the entire field had not grouped together, and there still was a few gaps here and there between cars, although still that massive lead that he did have was now gone. On lap 21 of 32, Victor Martin starts putting pressure on Lawrence Van Hoopen. Hoopen hadn't pit yet. This lasts for quite some time and does slow Martins down quite considerably because he just could not get past Van Hoopen, and it allows Fornaroli to kind of close that gap a little bit. Boganovic has a wheel in the gravel at one point, but is able to keep on going. Dunn passes Lindblad for P7 on lap 27. Boganovic pits from the lead on lap 28 and comes out in 12th. It was a great stint for Boganovic. Really screwed over by the safety car, unfortunately. Without that, I don't know if the win was on, but some good points were definitely on for Boganovic, unfortunately down for P12. Browning also pits from the lead the next lap, which gives the lead back to Victor Martins, who had been stuck behind Lawrence Van Hoopen, who had also pit a couple laps earlier. The gap between him and Fornaroli at that point just 0.8 of a second, but ultimately it did not matter for Victor Martins, who was able to win the feature race of Formula 2. It's been a while since we had a Victor Martins win, but in the most Victor Martins style ever, he wins the race, but no one cares, because it's all about the man in P2, Leo Fornaroli, who crosses the line as your new Formula 2 World Champion. Congratulations to Leo Fornaroli. He joins the list of the likes of Russell, Leclerc, Piastri, Bortoletto as drivers who have won Formula 3 and Formula 2 back to back. A wonderful season for Fornaroli. And for me, what makes it more impressive for Fornaroli than it does for anyone else who's done Formula 3 and Formula 2 back to back is he's done it with zero Formula 1 backing at all. He's not part of a junior academy. He's not part of a young driver team. He's part nothing. He's had no FP1 sessions. It's madness to me how someone like this can fall through the cracks. Someone with so much talent, someone who is good enough to win Formula 3 and Formula 2 back to back, somehow seemingly has no interest from the Formula 1 world. It's insanity, especially when Red Bull hire basically every young driver alive, that no one's looking at Fornaroli. As a young Italian driver with a hell of a lot of talent, why aren't Ferrari begging him to join their team? Ferrari have already lost out on one young Italian prospect in the terms of Kimi Antonelli. They've been gifted another young Italian super fast driver, and how they haven't signed him already, I will never know. Ferrari, what are you doing? He's right there. Get him signed up. Because the thing is, with Fornaroli, if he has zero F1 backing, I don't want this to be the end of Fornaroli's single-seater career in terms of Formula 1, but you don't see where he's going to fit in. There's no real place for him in 2026, so he's going to have to wait until 2027. This isn't like a Bortoleto situation where, he is kind of in the second half of the F2 season, bossed it, won the title, and then there was the connection with him with Sauber pretty much instantly. I think even before he won the title, he was connected with that Sauber seat. There's been no discussion at all about Fornaroli being brought up, just because the only real last seat available is that Red Bull Racing Bulls situation, and they have no idea what they're doing there. So I think he's going to have to wait for 27. But if he doesn't get one in 27, I feel like it's over for him. So he's got to find a way to fit in somewhere. And, I just feel like Ferrari have got to take a look. Because let's say 27 is Lewis Hamilton's final season. Who knows, 26 might... As I say, 26 is Lewis Hamilton's final season. Who knows, 25 might be Lewis Hamilton's season, the way he's going at the minute. But if he retires, and then let's say Ferrari call up Behrman and say, right, Behrman, you're the new Ferrari guy, all of a sudden there'll be a space available in Haas that Fornaroli, as a potential Ferrari junior in this fantasy world that I'm putting together here, could fit into perfectly. And then we'd have two Italian drivers on the grid. When the hell did that... I'm going to have to try and Google that now. When was the last time we had two Italian drivers on the grid? I can't even remember. But, yeah. Great job from Leonardo Fornaroli, who's just been Mr. Consistency for a very, very, very long time now, and is a deserving Formula 2 champion. We didn't actually talk about the rest of the grid here. Alex Dunn finished in P3. Arvid Lindblad, a very good job on those older tyres to finish up in P4. Montoya was 5th. Vershaw is 6th. Solov points on in his first ever race weekend, Formula 2 in P7. Stanek was 8th. Boganovic was 9th. And Luke Browning in P10. And I've just looked it up here in the background. The last time there were two Italian drivers on the grid, you have to go back to Trulli and Liuzzi at the 2011 Brazilian Grand Prix. That was the last time we had two Italian drivers on the grid, and they were driving for Lotus and HRT, and they were doing nothing. And then, between that race, the next time you had an Italian driver was 2017 for Giovinazzi in the Sauber. Then he disappeared for a year, came back in 2019, then he was there until 2021. Then, of course, no Italian drivers until this year, Kimi Antonelli. So, my goodness, it's been a long time since we've had a lot of Italian representation on the grid. But right now, with Fornaroli, with Antonelli, there is potential for some young Italian drivers to really do something in Formula 1. And I hope someone gets behind Fornaroli and gives him that chance for, even a test role next year that could potentially be a Formula 1 seat in 2027, because, a talent like that, you don't want him falling through the cracks. There's already so many question marks of, is F2 really doing it anymore? And, are the drivers being progressed correctly? And I really thought with Bortoleto last year, it proved the value of Formula 2. Because at the start of the season, no one was talking about Bortoleto. But Bortoleto goes out there, has a great year, secures the title, and boom, he's in Formula 1. And I thought, well, there you go. That proves Formula 2 is viable, Formula 2 is working, Formula 2 is helping young drivers get to Formula 1. But if someone like a Fornaroli falls through the cracks, then all that good work with Bortoleto is gone. So hopefully someone picks him up and he can continue being fantastic, but we will have to wait and see. We'll be back for more Formula 2 next week for Abu Dhabi. Who knows what's going to happen there. The Formula 2 Championship is sealed up, though, so that's all good and done there. Will the Formula 1 Championship be sealed up later on today? We shall have to wait and see, but I'll be here to discuss all of it with you then. Until next time, have a good one. Goodbye.